Hi, I'm Slam Gaming, and welcome back to part 3 of my 8-part series, where I'm seeing how long it takes to win with every Johto Gym Leader's team in the Master Ball tier of Scarlet and Violet VGC. Man, that's a mouthful. Last week, Bugsy did anything but crawl to the top of the current rankings, and you can find that video as well as the Faulkner video linked below. It's part 3, and that brings us to bustling Goldenrod City, where Whitney is anything but a normal gym leader. Or she is? Okay, well, she is normal type. You know what I mean. That Miltank lives in most of our nightmares, but we will have to do without the powerhouse cow today, as Miltank hasn't been introduced to Paldea as of yet. Without Miltank, what do we have? Well, we will have one of Whitney's original team members with Clefairy. From the rematch battle in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, we get Girafarig and Clefable, and finally from the Pokémon World Tournament, we get access to Tauros, Ambipom, and Ursaring. We actually also get access to Blissey and Wigglytuff from the PWT, but for this team I opted without them. Once again though, we have a full team of 6. Faulkner's squad of 4 is feeling like a distant memory at this point. But what are we going to do with those 6 teammates? Normal is not an amazing typing these days, with plenty of Ghost and Fighting types around, but the Ghost immunity in return is nice. Plus, the introduction of the Fairy type benefits Whitney immensely, as Clefairy and Clefable are now pure Fairy types. But other than that, type diversity is not amazing. Starting with Clefairy, it's a pretty standard Eviolite Friend Guard set, with the full suite of supporting moves. A VGC staple for a while now. I'm not worried about Clefairy being useful. Clefable, the older sister, I have more reservations about. While it's an amazing wall in singles, walls are generally harder to get going in the doubles format of VGC. Still, we are going to try, with a Calm Mind bulky set that will use Flamethrower for some useful coverage against steel types too. Ambipom honestly doesn't have much going for it, but I wanted to use it, so I slapped on a Focus Sash in hopes that Fast Fake Out would carry it. Acrobatics is a Hail Mary for some potential usability. Tauros is good. Always has been, always will be. I wish I could use one of the new Paldean forms, but the Kanto form will work too. Intimidate and Assault Vest is going to make it an all-around team member with decent bulk. Girafarig really wants the Eviolite that is on the Clefairy, but it will settle for a Mental Herb. The whole point of Girafarig here is to get Trick Room set up, for reasons you will see soon. Screens are just a bonus if it can last on the field a bit longer. Ursaring is the final team member, and at first I was tempted by a traditional Guts Flame Orb set, the sort of thing you'd see on its older sibling Ursaluna. But then I thought, why not go all out, and went instead with a Belly Drum Citrus Berry set. My reasoning was that if I could ever somehow get it set up in Trick Room, it would be insane. But that actually turned out to be wrong, and I think I was better off with just the Flame Orb. It's just a little too easy to stall out the Trick Room when Ghost types are immune to Ursaring's stab moves, and I don't have a Flying type available to make an Earthquake set safer. But I do like the idea that I had going. I just wish it had worked out better. And that's the team. I'm pretty happy with it, but it definitely feels less stable than Bugsy's team did, even at a conceptual level. A lot has to go right to make it work. But how do you think it'll do? And how many games do you think it'll take to win with it? Let me know below. And if you enjoyed the video at any time, liking and subscribing helps a lot, and it will let you know when the next video in the series goes up. Before we jump into the winning battle, it's first time for our losing montage, as is tradition. It's my equivalent of a libation poured out for the best efforts of the team. This time though, I'll also mention a few major problems with the team while the losing montage goes, to keep it more informative and interesting. Whitney's team was rough, there's no way around it. Faulkner's was also hard to use, but Whitney's was more frustrating, because it was so much closer to being good enough to eke out a win. I felt like I was just coming up short each battle, which is a lot more demoralizing than being blown out each battle, in a kind of counterintuitive way. I even got the Ursaring set up with Belly Drum a couple of times, but it was never able to close the deal before Trick Room was up. Clefable, too, was just not nearly as bulky as I needed it to be, even on the special side. I would set up properly sometimes, but it just wasn't enough to outlast the opponent. Ambipom was also just a massive 0. Like, it didn't do anything over the games. I think I only brought it like once. Honestly, Wigglytuff might have been better. Oh, also, one last gripe, I even lost a game on time while doing this. It was so close, but my opponent had just a little more HP than me. That was brutal. But here we are, at the battle where I finally broke through. As usual, I'll reveal the total game count at the end, as well as a tiering for how fun Whitney's team was to use. Let's jump into the game itself. So my opponent leads Armarouge and Iron Hands. If you play VGC yourself, you may already have rolled your eyes. Armarouge equals size spam, and you know there's an Indeedee in the back, waiting for the right moment to come into the battle. I lead Tauros and Clefable, honestly just trying to get some of my more specially bulky Pokemon out early. My opponent terastallizes turn 1, into the Dark type, which was a bit of a head scratcher for me. Then Iron Hands goes for U-turn? But Iron Hands doesn't. Oh, that is not an Iron Hands. That is a Zoroark with Illusion. And now the Terra Dark makes sense. U-turn into Armarouge activates weak armor and a weakness policy, which means it is now super fast and super strong. Translation, I am f***ed. And of course, Indeedee comes in for the Zoroark, and Expanding Force obliterates Tauros. But Clefable, interestingly, takes less than half. Let me explain while Clefable sets up a Calm Mind for more special bulk. You see, Clefable has the Unaware ability, which means that those special attack boosts for Armarouge do not factor in when damaging Clefable. Even better, the special defense boost I got from that Calm Mind still does apply, so the next Expanding Force will do even less. So while the rest of my team is in serious trouble, Clefable actually has some space to try and set up here. I bring in Clefairy, and now the Friend Guard ability means that Clefable will take even less damage next turn. I protect Clefairy to keep it safe, and my opponent goes for Follow Me with Indeedee. Look how little Expanding Force is doing now, and my Moonblast in return does over half to Indeedee. Somehow, I have gone from a sure defeat to a really comfortable position, all thanks to Whitney's original Clefairy and its evolved form. Fitting, isn't it? Indeedee uses Follow Me again, but I'm not even planning on attacking this turn. Clefairy just barely survives an Expanding Force, and Clefable gets off a second Calm Mind. Then, Clefairy continues to carry, with a Life Dew that brings both of my Mons back to around half HP. Clefairy protects next turn, Indeedee uses Follow Me again, and Clefable sponges yet another Expanding Force before KOing the Indeedee with another Moonblast. Iron Hands comes in for my opponent, but I'm not yet sure if it really is Iron Hands or the Zoroark again. I make a really nice play here, and I switch in Ursaring for Clefairy, straight up sacking it for nothing while Clefable just protects. Why do I do this? Clefairy is simply more valuable in the endgame, and I can't risk it fainting this turn. Clefable needs it to win, and with it, Clefable should have enough to get through the special attacking Zoroark and Armarouge, and it has an advantageous type matchup against the Iron Hands. Also, this turn should reveal whether this is the real Iron Hands or not, which is also really needed. Clefable protects, and Iron Hands is revealed to be Zoroark, as it goes for Trick. Ursaring goes down to Expanding Force, and then Psychic Terrain ends, which is also super clutch. Clefairy comes back in. So I know that Zoroark is probably going to give Clefable a Choice Scarf, which means now is the right time to lock into Moonblast, which is the only move I need to finish the game. Clefairy protects, and Clefable receives the Choice Scarf. Expanding Force bounces off again, and then Armarouge finally goes down to a Moonblast. Finally, the real Iron Hands comes in, and it reveals the Booster Energy item, which raises its attack stat. The game is not sealed up yet. If Iron Hands lives a Moonblast and KOs me in return, I will lose. And Iron Hands is really bulky, I could see it surviving. I risk it all and decide not to Follow Me with Clefairy. Bitter Malice comes out from Zoroark, and Clefairy lives on 9 HP. Even a critical hit couldn't take it out. Moonblast launches towards Iron Hands and KOs it in one shot. Wow. Life Dew from Clefairy is the cherry on top, and the game is in the bag now. Zoroark just won't be able to break through Clefable and Clefairy. My opponent knows that too and forfeits the next turn. We never even saw the Zoroark in its real form. Okay, but what were the odds of me actually KOing that Iron Hands in one shot? Well, after running it through the calc, it looks like the only reason that I was able to one-hit KO the Iron Hands was because it was the booster energy item, instead of the more standard Assault Vest set. Well, I'll definitely take it, even if it was a bit lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, after all. Okay, last order of business. How long did it actually take me to win with Whitney's team? Well, in the longest run yet, it took me 7 battles to win with Whitney's team in the Master Ball tier. I don't know about you, but I find that pretty surprising. This team really felt like it had a shot. Maybe it was just my team building, or my play, or anything else that I did, but I'm still a little disappointed. Maybe if Miltank comes back in the Indigo Disc, I'll give it another go. As for how fun the team was to use, this is an easy B tier. A notch below Bugsy, mainly because the team just didn't really have any heavy hitters. But the possible strategies were ample, and Whitney had a lot of potential team members, which is also always fun. As a reminder, here are the updated game counts and tiers. And that's Whitney. Kind of a frustrating one, but still a good time in the end. 5 more gym leaders to go. If you enjoyed and you want to see Morty next, liking and subscribing will keep you in the loop, and it really does help a lot. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm Slam Gaming, and have a great rest of your day. See you next time.